click on text, and then just do one click. Do not drag on a square or anything like that. Typing anything you guys like. In this case, we're going to do tech and design. We're going to choose the font, so just highlight it. Then right down here, you should see the font coming up, so just choose whichever you like. I always like this font. Then from here, we're not going to make it bigger. I'm going to teach you how to make it bigger at the end. Actually, right now we can make it, let's say, this big, but we're going to mess around with that in just a second. So right now that's text. And this is text that we can edit at any point in time. So we can add more text, less text, erase anything, do anything with the text. We can edit the kerning as well. We can do a bunch of stuff with it. And right now at this point would be the time if you guys need to edit any kerning with it, go ahead and do it. Same goes with tracking for it, anything that has to do with that, go ahead and edit right now before we outline it. So to edit that stuff, just click on it. We're gonna go really fast through this because we already went through this. And then on our workspace, we're gonna switch it up to typography. Under typography, we should see all of this. So right here, we're gonna see kerning, the space between each letter, tracking, which would be the space between all letters in the entire paragraph, entire sentence, entire word. So for example, if I thought maybe the space between the H and the end, then we have this space right here. It doesn't look 100% how I like it. Well, we're just gonna click here, and then we're just gonna go to the top, take a look at the space for kerning, and we're gonna take it down a notch. So it's gonna go closer just by a little bit. If you guys wanna see a big difference, type in something like -200. You guys can see that went really tight. So let me just show you what just happened. So that just happened. The space between those two got really tight. However, we don't need it that much. Just wanna edit just by a little bit, -20. And there we go. And if you wanted to make this whole thing tighter, again, we can go into the tracking and mess around with that. So we're just gonna go into -200 just to show you what that does. And that's what that does. We can go into +200, which would bring our text like so. So in this case, just to make it fun, we're gonna go into maybe 100. So let's say we're done. By the way, if this was something else like a sentence, not a sentence, but a paragraph, we could also mess around with the leading, which is the space between each sentence, which would be right here. So this is the leading, we can take it up or down. But again, I just want to give you guys a quick refresh around that. I'm gonna make this slightly bigger. We're gonna click here. And again, this is text that we can mess around with right now. However, let's just click on our workspace and go back into Essentials Classic. Once we do that, just scroll down and you should see something like this, create outlines. So once we do this, we cannot edit our text anymore, like kerning and all that stuff. I mean, we can still edit that technically, but just not the same way. So let me just show you what this does. So click on it. We're not gonna click on release or anything like that for now, because I want it all together. If we release each letter, it's just not gonna be grouped together. Right now, everything's grouped together and we cannot edit this. So this basically, we made it into an image, kinda. So right now, we could even edit this by like this, for example. We can deform this thing. If you guys wanna keep it, and you should keep it the way it is, just make sure to press Shift, then drag one of the ends, and we can make it bigger, like so. So right now we can do that because it's technically not text anymore. It's kind of an image, they're shapes. So I'm gonna extend this out. I'm gonna show you this. So now that's text over this. However, when you're making a logo or anything like that, usually what you guys see is that you want to make a hole in this blue background. So what I mean by that is we're gonna click on both. We can just drag and select both that way. Then down here below, you're gonna see Pathfinder, which we've dealt with before. So that's down here on the right hand side. We will see this and we're gonna minus the front. Let me just zoom out so you guys can see what's gonna happen. Minus the front, and there we go. Our text kind of disappeared. And that's because we kind of drilled a hole in this. So if you move this around, you guys can see what I mean. And I'm gonna create another box so you guys really know what I mean. Actually, we're gonna create a circle. And don't worry, we're gonna move this to the back. Just another color so you guys can see what's going on. That's good enough. And right now, before I went through this, this is the part where you would have to move this to the background. And usually I would say go to your layers palette, but we went over that already and you guys know how the layers work. Right now you guys can learn kind of the shortcuts. So I'm going to show you that and how to do that. So you want to move this to the back. So right click on it, or with 2 fingers on your trackpad, that's going to right click. And then from here, you're going to see all these options. Now arrangement's what we're looking for. So it's going to be down here below. And we're going to see all of these options. Let me just scroll down a little bit so you guys can see better. Bring front, bring forward, backward, all the way to the back. We actually want this time all the way to the back. Now remember these shortcuts. You guys can go on and mess around with these shortcuts. That's Command, by the way. And then just take a look at your keyboard so you guys can see where to click. So if we send it all the way to the back, this is what's going to happen. Let me show you. You went to the back. So right now we can place this anywhere. And this is something that's made a lot when you're making logos. So that's why I wanted to show you how to do this. For this one, I'm also going to go into color swatches. I'm just going to do a pure cyan so it's not so dead. And once again, this is what we just made. And this is why I'm teaching you guys this, because it's something extremely useful. So again, we can arrange this to be the front, middle, or whichever. If we click on the options key on our keyboard and we drag this out, we're gonna make a copy of this. We can just change up the color, go into color swatches, and we're gonna choose this one, for example. And again, this one is technically on top of this one, but we can mess around with our arrangement with our shortcuts or going by arrangement like I showed you the long way before. So we can make it all the way to the front. We can move it back. I'm just doing this with the shortcuts. Just mess around with the shortcuts so you guys get used to them. But you're going to be messing around with this a lot. I'm going to change that color myself because it extremely bugs me. I'm going to just make it black. And there we go. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go on into the eraser tool. That's because it's something extremely useful. Right now, that's going to be on the left-hand side. Just make sure your Essentials workspace so you guys see it. And that's going to be here. So just click on it, and what the eraser tool is going to do, so just drag your mouse. It's going to make a perfect shape, by the way. Well, I shouldn't say perfect, but a smooth shape. And you're technically erasing, kinda. You're splitting up your shapes plus erasing. And there we go. And we're literally erasing. So what does that mean? We're not coloring white, in fact erasing. So let me just copy this over. If I copy that over, that's the shape. So if I put this behind there, you guys can see that I erased that part. Let me just get rid of that. And right now, these are shapes that we can take apart actually, unless something's grouped together. So right now I can see these guys are not grouped together, so I can take this apart and just move it all the way apart. And we can just delete them, pressing delete on our keyboard. We can delete this part on our keyboard as well. Let's just leave that. And let's say you want to erase something from here, it doesn't let you. Well, you're gonna have to ungroup. It does give you that option right away. And if you don't see that for any reason, you can always right click on it and then click on ungroup. Once you ungroup, you're gonna be able to select portions of this and then delete it, for example, and so on. I'm just gonna go back on that. So Command Z, because I made that, let's say by a mistake. And there you go. So that's your eraser tool. Extremely useful for design. And now we're gonna put this on the side. So let's highlight everything and group it. So Command G. So if I click anywhere, I can just move it to the top. Now the next thing I'm gonna choose is our shape builder tool. We're actually gonna mess around with this as well. I was gonna make a new shape, but I changed my mind. So we're gonna go on and choose our shape builder tool. So again, that's gonna be on the left-hand side. Looks like so. Click on it. Make sure you already highlighted all of this. So let me just make sure we clicked here. It's all grouped up. Shape builder tool. And then we can just drag. So we're going to put all this together. So we're going to drag this through. You're going to see what happens if we bring all this together. So I'm just dragging through, highlighting everything. I was going to skip out the letters, but let's highlight literally everything so you guys see what happens if we put it all together. And it's going to create one big shape from this. Now, this is not the best example of what just happened. So let me just make sure I teach you right now. Let me just put this on the side. And I will make another shape so you guys can see what just happened. So I'm going to go into the shaper tool that we went on before. Let me just zoom in on it a little bit. So that's this shaper tool. We're just going to make a shape. So we're just going to draw a shape. Let's say we're making clouds. I want to do something extremely fast. And there's several ways to do this, by the way. It's just one of the many ways. It's just takes a short amount of time to do this. So we're creating these circles. And then we have to select them all. So highlight them all. And then go to the shaper tool. And we're gonna drag and put them together. So just select every single one of them. Don't let go of your mouse, or your trackpad, whatever you're using. Select everything from here. And we just created a big shape. Oh, it seems like I missed a small part there. But it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to my shaper tool and bring that together just in case. And there we go. There's my cloud. So again, this shape builder tool is awesome because you can bring everything together. Obviously, there's other ways to do this because I already showed you guys how to do that when you have various shapes. But this is just a quick way of doing it. And you can do that with every shape. You don't just have to do it circles. You guys can do it with anything, such as squares, stars. You guys can bring anything together. Just that this one right here is just the most common one, just to make something like a cloud. But anyways, that would be an intro into all of these things. If you guys have any comments, questions, you guys can write down here in the comments area. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you.